the Budweiser Springnationals. A visit with the grand old man of funny car racing. The All-Stars take center stage. And the secrets of speedy software. From JEGS Race Cars in Columbus, Ohio, these stories and more on this edition of NHRA Today. Today, all across the land, families are celebrating Father's Day, a time for new ties and slippers and cans of car polish. The bond between fathers and their children runs deep, and the line between generations is even stronger when a family has a common interest. Over the years, we have seen many families drawn together by the sport of drag racing. From the competitive, good-natured ribbing between father and son Vince and Mike Holmes when they race each other in Comp Eliminator, to the strong bond of trust and faith between top fuel pilot Dick LaHaye and his talented crew chief daughter Kim. The old adage, the family that plays together stays together, certainly has its place in this sport. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Evans, and welcome to this edition of NHRA Today. And to all of you dads out there, well, our best wishes on this very special occasion. Now today we come to you from the shop of former professional racer Jeg Coughlin, who now competes in the Sportsman category of Super Gas. But that's not the reason we're here. You see, Jeg has spread his love of the sport of drag racing to his entire family. And he and his 4 sons compete regularly in both national and divisional events. Now, it was our intent at this point in the show to bring you highlights of the 26th running of the NHRA Budweiser Springnationals right outside of Columbus, Ohio here. But unfortunately, violent weather has caused postponement of that event to the following weekend. But let's go out to National Trail Raceway, where Dave McClellan has what amounts to flood coverage. David?
Steve, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then this quick shot is worth at least 10 million. We had hoped to be able to bring you an action report on all the excitement of the 26th annual Budweiser Springnationals at Columbus, but National Trail Raceway was inundated Friday night. Mother Nature was the champion here. The Weather Bureau estimates at least 5 inches of rain fell out of a massive thunderstorm. It flooded the pit area, as you can see. It flooded parking lots, made movement on the racetrack itself an impossibility. Therefore, the race had to be postponed. It was truly a flood at National Trail Raceway.
This flood situation, what they're calling a 100-year situation, has caused some severe damage to the pit areas, which are grass, and guys have been stuck back there, and water damage to some of the vehicles. We're doing everything we can to service the racers and get them out of here best we can, but it's a lot of frustration, a lot of work, and it's going to be a long day.
As often happens when disaster strikes, people were drawn together to challenge Mother Nature's fury. Local farmers came to the aid of those stranded at National Trail Raceway, why there even was a dramatic rescue of a young baby from a flooded motorhome.
They took the baby out of the motorhome and brought her to here with the boat. She only woke up when they picked her up and put her in the boat.
As the waters began to recede, NHRA officials turned their attention to preparations for running the Budweiser Springnationals the following weekend.
For next week's activity, again, if we get any kind of a break in the weather, the schedule is there and the cars will be here and we'll have a nice Spring Nationals. I'm optimistic that, the finished product will be just fine, but getting to that point is a lot of agony.
Well, if the excitement generated by the first 2 days of qualifying is any indication, Steve Gibbs' agony will be worth it. In Top Fuel, Frank Hawley, in his first event driving for Gwin Racing, set the quickest time, but the real fireworks came from Tommy Johnson Jr., whose new car cut a tire, and only superb driving by the young Iowan kept the car under control before coming to a halt at the newly lengthened shutdown area. John Force, coming off a win at the Cajun Nationals, was the low qualifier in funny cars, while pro stock driver Larry Morgan put himself in a strong position to win his 4th race in a row by grabbing the quickest time at this, his home track. The rains that drenched the Columbus area last weekend not only forced a change in the racing schedule, but they may have ended a tradition. The word around National Trail Raceway is the Moose is history. This had been the rain insurance. Didn't work too good, did it, track president Ben Rader?
No, you can say the Moose is toast. We're going to take the Moose, put him on a funeral pyre, and burn him. You'll never see the Moose again at National Trail Raceway. We're going to retire his buns to someplace where he doesn't belong.
Well, whether the moose goes or stays, it's certain that the 1990 Spring Nationals Take One will be remembered by all.
This has really just, been the exclamation mark on a real frustrating week of racing.
Thus, because of the bad weather, the 26th Annual Budweiser Spring Nationals postponed 1 week. And Steve, by the way, I've got a little bit of bad news for you. Not only were the trailers, trucks, and motorhomes inundated, there's your golf cart, my friend. How's your breaststroke? NHRA Today is being brought to you by Firestone, makers of Firehawk Performance tires for the street, the track, and the strip. Tires that meet the test. And by Castrol GTX, the motor oil that provides maximum protection against viscosity and thermal breakdown.
We're in Jeg Coughlin's very tasteful office over the shop here in Columbus, Ohio. And Jeg, I've been scratching my head trying to think of another driver who competed in all 3 pro categories, top, fuel, funny car, and pro stock. Other than yourself, you're it.
Gee, that's right, Steve. I've thought about that a lot too, and I think we probably are one of the few that have only raced in those 3 classes.
And now you're in Super Gas, considerably slower. It's still a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it's an absolute ball. The way that started was when my sons decided that they wanted to start racing. I said, hey, do you guys all want to drive, or are somebody going to be a mechanic? And they said, geez, we think we'd really like to drive a race car. And I said, well, then we're all going to race in the Sportsman category so that we can race and work at the store and on and on.
And then you joined in as a driver as well. Now there's 5 Coughlins out there.
That's right. I watched them for about 2 or 3 years, and I said, oh, I got to try this. I can't watch any longer.
Thanks for having us today.
You're welcome, and it's been a pleasure.
Well, recently we had a lot of fun just watching the Coughlin clan in action.
A few years back, my brother John started racing a super comp dragster similar to mine. And soon after that, Troy and I started driving, and we started driving some super gas cars that we built. And when Jeg came into play, he took over one of my cars that I drove, and we just kind of played musical cars. And then my dad built his also. So that's how we ended up with what we have now.
But are there advantages or disadvantages to running 2 Super Comp and 3 Super Gas cars?
It's organized, it's busy, with 5 cars and 5 drivers.
I think there's advantages because, one, we got them covered odds-wise, that's for sure. And secondly, we can watch each other and try to learn from each other to better ourselves.
I've gone racing a few times by myself where, none of my brothers went or my father, and it was definitely a lot tougher. I didn't have any advice or really any support. And I definitely enjoyed going, with the family and my brothers a lot better.
The family approach has proven successful, as Mike Coughlin has won on a divisional level and is the Super Comp representative for Division 3 at the TRW All-Stars. So then what kind of advice does Jeg Sr. pass on to his sons?
He just wanted us to, stay calm and run our own race.
Really, I just learned to watch him and watch how he does things.
He kind of helps us set up goals to achieve, I think, from business and racing and family life.
He's given me a lot of good advice. He's raced for 30 years, and, he's forgotten more than I'll ever know.
I don't know how they keep it all straight. Well, as mentioned in that piece, Mike was participating in the TRW All-Star Sportsman's Competition as the Super Comp representative from Division 3. And in last week's Fearless Fry forecast, Mike was picked to win. Okay, Bob, it's fess up time. Just how well did those predictions go, huh?
Steve, the TRW Sportsman All-Star Race is a collection of the greatest sportsman drag racers in the country. Now, I've already made my prediction about who the winners are going to be, but they're going to run the race anyway. There have been a couple last-minute additions to the field. In Division 4, Todd Funderburk is now an in-comp eliminator, and for the Division 1 racers, Bobby Newberry now races in top alcohol funny car. There's one thing you can always be sure of, regardless of who's racing. When it comes to the TRW Sportsman All-Stars, this is the best sportsman drag race in the country.
Places in the TRW All-Star field go to the top divisional point scorers since last June in each of the 8 sportsman classes. And to add to the field, the defending champions are also invited. But last year's results don't necessarily guarantee success, as Super Comp driver Bruno Massel discovered in round 1. Much to the relief of his family, Massel was okay. But since he crossed the center line, his hopes for a repeat TRW crown were ended. Other classes had their share of early round action. Division 5 Super Gas representative Joe Lupfer got very loose at the start of his race, And current hot hand and top alcohol funny car, Division III's Danny Townsend popped the chute just a little too early and was beaten by Terry Mullins. Every race and every round is vital in an event like the All-Stars, as a victory means not only individual success, but also extra points in the team championship battle between the divisions. And as the event neared its close, the competition got very tense.
We're down to the finals of the TRW All-Stars here in Columbus, Ohio, and 3 divisions are still mathematically in contention. Divisions 2, 3, and 4 could all win this thing. Just prior to the start of the finals, we caught the division directors engaged in some friendly conversation.
You haven't got a chance. Not even a chance.
Actually, that's the best I've seen them get along for quite some time. In the finals, Division 4 struck pay dirt first, with Robert Turner in the near lane taking the win courtesy of a foul start by Division 2's Jackie Bell. But the Dixie Rebels of Division 2 bounced back with a pair of wins. First, Mike Crutchfield in the near lane just caught Greg Stanfield at the finish line to take super stock. And the 1988 Winston World Champion Garley Daniels then added another Division 2 victory by stopping Division 4's Todd Funderburk in the comp eliminator final. Division 1 captured a pair of wins behind stock eliminator champion Bobby Broadbent and Super Gas repeat winner Vic Singer Jr. And the TRW Super Comp hopes of our host, the Coughlin family, ended in the finals when Mike crossed the line first. It went quicker than the 890 class standard, and that gave the win to the dragster of Lawrence Spring. So, with only the top alcohol classes yet to run, the team championship was still in doubt.
By the best I can figure, if Conway for Division 4 wins, we have a tie. Now, if Terry can win this, Terry Mullins, then I think we win it.
Well, the way I figure it, Newberry's going to probably put Mullins here in the box, and then Conway's going to come out and win, and we're going to have a tie, and then it's going to go to the rule book. And to be honest, we don't know how it's going to end today.
In the top alcohol funny car final, Bob Newberry made the most of his late addition to the field as his come-from-behind charge just caught Terry Mullins for a razor-thin win. And in top alcohol dragster, Tom Conway in the near lane came through in the clutch with a victory for Division 4, which sent the officials scrambling for their rule books to decide which team had taken the championships. 10 minutes later, the tie was broken.
Bubba, we got him!
Good one.
All right.
Congratulations, kid. I want a recount, protest.
Oh, Bubba.
Remember those predictions I made about the winners in the TRW All-Star program? You know how many I got right? 0, zip, zilch, nada, none. It's hard to believe that a guy with my years of experience and insight into the Sportsman racers could have done so poorly. One thing I did learn about picking the TRW All-Stars, if you pick them the way I did, it sure is lonely here at the bottom.
Hey, Bob Fry, look at this, a smart scope. Maybe that's what you need to tune up your forecasting ability. Nice try, though, buddy. You know, when I was a kid, I tried to make money selling magazine subscriptions. If I'd have run across a family like the Coughlins, I'd be wealthy today. Between them, they subscribe to over 40 publications, their favorite, of course, National Dragster. And by joining NHRA, you can receive a 48-issue subscription, plus the NHRA patch, pen, decal, rule book, and if you call the number on your screen right now, even a free copy of the Diamond P video, Drag Racing 89.
Now in his 80s, George Hoover is still full of spunk and wit, and as his son Tom can tell you, he's just as sharp and skillful as ever.
He's got a feel for the engine. He builds it. Maybe you can't see every move of the car, but he comes back and he tunes the motor off what the inside of the engine looks like.
For the Hoover family, drag racing crept into their lives not through the usual father-to-son route, but just the opposite. Tom Hoover's interest in racing began as a teenager in the mid-60s, and he introduced his father to the sport.
See, I've always been a mechanic. He brought his cars into the shop to have me work on them, see, so I finally decided to go out the track and see what he was doing, and just got involved, that's all.
To say George Hoover is involved in his son's racing effort is quite an understatement. He and his wife Ruth have been with Tom throughout his career, and Tom credits his father as the mechanical genius.
He's just a great mechanic. There's a lot of guys out there that can do things, and but Dad can always figure things out.
When you can win a round or win the whole race, or that's what you're there for.
And we've been through good and bad times. We've had trouble, but he's always there, and he's so determined to do well, and his stamina. even on our off times, you know, he's over here in the morning working on the car.
The strong Hoover family ties, which began with George and Ruth, stretch even further now with Tom's wife Betty and their children. Amidst the clamor of racing and road travel, Tom Hoover has managed to maintain a well-balanced lifestyle, believing strongly in the family commitment.
The crew and even Dad is out there on the road with the car all the time, and I fly back and forth and try and tend to a little bit of family business.
Undoubtedly, the endless support and dedication of his parents has contributed greatly to Tom's longevity in the sport of drag racing. For 25 years, they've been a part of the traveling Hoover entourage, and the wheels keep rolling today.
What's unique about them is they go on the road. He drives the whole tour, 35,000 miles a year with a fifth-wheel trailer. I keep telling them to sell their house because they're never home.
On the highway with all the beautiful scenery, the trees, the flowers, I love it. We go to these parks and you've always got somebody you can talk to. Most of them are all very kind.
Endurance seems to play a key role with the Hoovers. After nearly 65 years of marriage, George and Ruth are still going strong and admit it would be tough to retire from racing and break up the father and son team.
At my age, sometimes I think maybe it'd be better off he did get somebody younger in my place and I just drop out of it. But I haven't got enough sense to quit neither. We have our ups and downs, but all in all, we're probably as good a father and son team as there is.
A special time like this on Father's Day, you think back, well, how lucky I am to have a dad that's done for me what mine has, and I've been close to him in that respect.
Castrol presents the GTX Pipeline, the latest news from the world of drag racing.
Here in the Midwest shop of JEGS Coughlin, there's always race cars in various stages of completion. But soon out on the West Coast, a brand new funny car will start going together for driver Mike Dunn. We last saw Mike in 1989 at the wheel of the Joe Paisano car. Well, he's hooked up with a brand new team that has big plans.
We've formed a team, businessman out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, actually Mountville, E.B. Abel. We're going to put together a funny car team for next year, and we're going to try and debut around the Keystone Nationals this year, hopefully, and just do some testing and get ready for basically for the 1991 season.
In today's hotter running,
Coughlin, his sons, and their crews don't just build their own cars. They also turn out a few for fellow racers. All in all, about 10 finish cars will roll out in the course of a year, and any number of kit cars the racers finish off themselves. Now, at this stage of construction, this Corvette is definitely the ugly duckling. But would you like to see the beautiful Swan? Absolutely meticulously crafted is this Corvette, powered by a blown small block Chevrolet. That's an interesting combination in this day and age. I'm not sure exactly what class we're going to find this car in. One thing I do know for sure, it is beautifully constructed and beautifully finished off in shades of red and black. Now, the finishing touch is going to be an onboard computer because no racer who's serious about the sport competes without one. Here's Don Garlitz with the second part of his four-part series on how computers have affected the sport of drag racing.
Last week in the pits with Eddie Hill, we showed you the 21 computer channels on the engine and the other pertinent equipment where the crew was gathering data so that they would be able to tune the car for the next round. Now we're going to show you where all those cables and wires and hoses went to in order to gather and retain that information. Right in this race pack computer are the 21 channels, and this computer is monitoring all of those channels 20 times per second. That's a lot of information. Now, when the car comes back from the run, the crew will hook into that computer this race pack printer. And they will bring this information out on this little white strip of paper, and it will come up. It takes about 5 minutes for the crew to get all of this information out of the computer, where they'll be able to read what these components actually were doing during the run. Now, next week, we're going to take you into the trailer and show you what the crew does with this information.
That wraps up this Father's Day edition of NHRA Today, and we hope everyone had a very pleasant holiday. I can't wait to get home to see what my trio has for dear old Dad. Whatever it is, maybe I'll wear it next week when we bring you these interesting stories. We'll bring you highlights of Take 2 of the Budweiser Springnationals. And we'll see why winning a national event was an emotional experience for pro stock driver Morris Johnson Jr. For Dave McClellan and Don Garlitz and Bob Fry, I'm Steve Evans. Thanks for joining us here on TNN. We'll see you next Sunday.
NHRA Today has been brought to you by Castrol GTX, engineered for today's smaller cars, and by Firestone, makers of Firehawk performance tires for the street, the track, and the strip, tires that meet the test. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by this special offer from Diamond P.
For years, you've all loved Diamond P Sports Home Video, Decade of Thrills, the ultimate drag racing experience. Well, I've got some great news. Don Perdomo and I are back with the all-new 90-minute Decade 2, the thunder of the 80s. Eddie Hill cracks the fours, then flies away. Connie Coletta marches past 290. Ed McCullough and John Collins will never forget the Cajun Nationals of 84, nor Kenny Bernstein, Maple Grove, PA, 87. Glidden won his 50th and his 75th in the same decade. It's all in Decade of Thrills, too. To get your copies, send $24.95 to the address in your screen, or better yet, call 1-800-767-1600. Visa and MasterCard accepted, no CODs. Call now, 1-800-767-1600.